You've just lost a loved one, and now you're trying to bring everything together for the services. There are emotions, there are decisions, there are many people that may be involved, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, you're being asked about the funeral program. Let me help you with this. My name is Samuel Stewart, and I've been helping families that have lost loved ones and looking for ways to honor their memory for over 26 years now. Now, this funeral program that I want to help you to put together, it's not just a keepsake. It is definitely a wonderful keepsake, but it's really a guide for the entire service. It helps to organize how everything will happen, who will be there, and how everything will flow. So instead of just looking at it as something to be designed, let's look at it as something that will help you to keep everything organized. And this is why I always suggest to start the funeral program early, because as you begin to prepare it, it helps you with gathering your thoughts, and it helps you to identify what's missing, and it brings structure to what can feel like an overwhelming process. Now, as you begin preparing the funeral program, this is a time to involve others. Anyone that was really a part of your loved one's life. Each person may have something meaningful to contribute. It could be photos, it could be information, it could even be participation in the services. Some are there for financial support. So one practical step, create a list of all of those individuals just for reference, so you know who you can reach out to and who may be able to help. Now, one of the first things I recommend asking for is photos. And don't just count on the ones that you already have, because very likely others will have pictures that you may have never seen of your loved one, or moments of events that you didn't even know were captured. And these can become some of the most meaningful parts of the program. If possible, create some type of a shared space, like a Google Drive or an Apple shared album. Something where everyone can upload photos easily to. Today, with cloud storage, this process becomes so much smoother. And this is something I walk you through in one of our other videos, how to set that up properly and to keep everything organized. Now, once you have your photos, let them begin to tell the story, because a picture really is worth 1,000 words. First, choose a main photo, something that really reflects who your loved one was. Then select some supporting photos for the inside or the back. All these photos can come in handy. Now, the front of the program, we usually have your loved one's full name, so first name, middle name, and last name, and then usually the date of birth and then the date of death. Some people prefer to put the years instead of the full date. Either way is acceptable. Then we would have the date and the time of the actual funeral services. Normally, we would list the funeral time. If there's a viewing or wake service beforehand, we use the time for the funeral as what we would put on the actual program. And underneath that, we would put the location of the funeral service. If it's at a church, you'd have the church name and the address, or maybe it's at a funeral home, you'd have the funeral home name and the address. Now, underneath the address, you normally have pastor of the church, and if there's someone else that's going to be officiating, you have the officiating minister's name. Now, from there, we move on to the obituary. And this is where you gather input from others again, because no one person will have all of the information about your loved one's life. Ask family and friends, what stood out about their life? What really mattered to them? What moments mattered? And what should be remembered? Then begin to bring those pieces together. You can use an obituary worksheet or even AI tools to help structure it. Nowadays, the AI tools can be really, really helpful. But I want to remind you of one thing. Even when running it through an AI tool, read through it afterwards, because sometimes some information can get changed in an effort to maybe make it sound better or maybe fix some spelling, but sometimes things are erroneously changed. So you want to definitely read through it after you run it through an AI checker, and make sure it reflects their life accurately and flows well. Now, once the obituary is complete, we move on to the order of service. And this is where the program becomes a true guide. Start by identifying who will participate, like who will read the acknowledgements, who's going to read the scriptures. Usually there's two scriptures, an Old Testament scripture and a New Testament scripture. Now, usually, who will read the obituary? And will there be any remarks made? And if so, it's often helpful to list the individuals that will make remarks, because when it's left completely open, I've seen that it's oftentimes going longer than expected and can affect the overall flow of the service. Now, if there's going to be music, consider if there's a song selection, or will there be a solo, or even something that everyone can sing along or participate in. Then comes the officiant, who will usually bring the main message or the words of comfort. And it's important, once you have this all together, to review all of this order with them, because they will be leading the services, so they can usually provide some type of guidance, or at the very least, just approve the final order of service that you like. And most officiants are very accommodating, and they'll look to align everything with the family's wishes. Now, depending on the service, there may be a final viewing after the message, although in many places, this is becoming less common. So once the casket is closed, it remains closed. And part of that is to help avoid reopening deep emotions again. And finally, at the bottom of the order of service, you'll include the interment information or the cremation information if the family chooses to add that there. And now on the back of the program, you'll typically include a poem or a meaningful scripture. We've actually put together a list of popular selections, but you can find a link for it in the comment section. Now, everything we talked about here is for a standard funeral program, but if you're looking to create something that becomes like a lasting tribute, a legacy keepsake, then I want you to watch the next video. We'll walk you through creating a memorial keepsake program and how they can preserve a life story in a much deeper way.